Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Amber Rose, also known as the Religious Hippie. You could basically follow me on any social media platform, or you can go straight to my website at thereligioushippie.com. On my website, you'll find Haters Will Be Prayed For prayer journals and tumblers, St. Jude prayer mugs, and a little bit more. So definitely go check that out. When you donate and receive an item, you're helping me keep the Religious Hippie ministry running, so I truly appreciate it. And if you can't donate financially, please consider liking, subscribing, and commenting to help us with the algorithm. Thanks, guys. So today we're going to be talking about green flags in relationships. I feel like a lot of people look at the red flags in relationships, which is totally valid, and I'll probably end up doing a video kind of like that, but I want to focus on the positive things. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. So the first green flag you should look for is that they are the same faith as you. Now this might ruffle some feathers, but to me this is the most important one as someone who was in a relationship with somebody who was not the same faith, and it absolutely wreaked havoc on our entire relationship, on my own relationship with God, and overall it just was really, really difficult because we differed on so many areas where if we were the same religion, we wouldn't have had those issues. And I know that's not always a guarantee that if you're both Catholic that you'll agree on everything, but for the most part, you're most likely going to find somebody who has the same morals and values and views as you do. So dating outside the faith is not something we should be doing. I've addressed this in multiple segments of my Help series because I get a lot of questions about interfaith relationships, some about Orthodox and some about like Protestant and then even non-Christian people. And my advice is always the same, like it's not recommended. Interfaith relationships are really complicated and they only get more complicated in marriage. And like I said, if you're on the same page religiously, then you're usually also on the same page with morals, values, politics, and other important things. So if you guys are the same faith, that's one less battle you're going to have to fight, because kids who are a part of interfaith relationships, every single one of them has told me, I wish my parents were the same faith. There was so much confusion. There was so much hostility in the house and division because of it. And I know that sometimes it can work out, but you can't assume that you're in that small percentage where it will work out. You don't want to have to fight your spouse on why you're praying or why you're going to mass or holy days of obligation or why you're fasting during Lent. You don't want to have those arguments, and you definitely don't want to have to split into two religious categories. Like you don't want to be both Catholic and something else. You're either all in or you're not. And a lot of the times, those who do have an interfaith relationship, especially if the man is not Catholic and the woman is more than likely to fall away from her faith because the man is not practicing it as well. So if you guys are the same faith, that's a green flag. Number 2, they respect your boundaries. This is so important in relationships because you guys are both going to be in circumstances and situations where you might be tempted to have sex or to do certain things. And it's so important that the man especially is guarding your purity and is willing to say no when things start getting too heated, I guess. But it doesn't just have to do with sex. There could be other boundaries you have as well. But whatever it is, they should be respectful of reasonable boundaries. If you're setting boundaries because you don't want to hold their hand or go on dates with them or something like that, that's not a reasonable boundary. A boundary is when you know there is something and you have to explain it to them as well. Be like, I can't do this because it makes me XYZ, or I can't do that, I don't want to cause scandal. Whatever it might be, there are going to be reasonable boundaries and unreasonable boundaries, but if they're reasonable, they should be respecting them. You should never feel uncomfortable around them, and they should never be pressuring you into doing anything you don't want to do. Number 3, they're saving sex for marriage. Now this ties in with the one I just said, but if they're pressuring you to have sex or they want sex, not great. And this is a little bit different than sexually being attracted to somebody. Because that sexual attraction is good. That means you really want to have kids with them. And that's what we're designed to do. God designed us to want to have kids, and we have to be attracted to our spouse in order to do that, you know? However, there should also be a boundary there, knowing that sex is for marriage. And if that person doesn't respect that, that opens you up to a whole can of worms. Sex is for the procreation and unification of spouses, and it's meant to be with one person, and specifically the person you're married to. Anyone who dates to have one-night stands or sex is a walking red flag. Don't even try to get into a relationship with them thinking that you can change their mind. It's not worth it. If they are saving sex for marriage, it will show through how they treat you and respect your boundaries and your purity. This shows respect not just of you, but also how they respect themselves. They have standards and they have a backbone, and I think that's really attractive in a guy. That doesn't mean you guys don't want to jump each other's bones or anything like that. It just means that you guys have those boundaries set in place, you respect each other and each other's purity, and you know that this is going to be a beautiful thing in marriage. I also want to state that this doesn't mean that the person you're dating is a virgin. They might not be, but maybe they had this conversion of heart and they've come back to the faith, and they have since made reparations and they've set boundaries in place to make sure that they're saving sex for marriage. And that's something you guys are going to have to talk about in your own relationship. However, that is something that can happen. And if you've had sex previously, it does not make you any less of a person. However, if it's somebody who's pushing sex and, has not had that conversion of heart, those are the people you want to stay away from. And number 4, they're dating to marry. Somebody who's dating to marry has their priorities and standards straight. And the best part is they're not going to be playing any of these stupid games we all hate. They know exactly what they're looking for, and they're less likely to waste your time. They really take the dating process seriously, and they'll try to get as much of a foundation with you as possible so that they don't waste your time either. Most people who date to marry are efficient, and like I said, they're not going to waste your time. Max and I were very efficient, and we started dating about 5 months after friendship. And then after that, 6 months and we got engaged, and bada bing, bada boom, we're getting married this year. So when you're efficient, you know, and it's great, but it's wonderful because when you're dating to marry, you really have your priorities and standards straight, and you ask yourself, can I seriously see myself marrying this person and having kids with them? Am I attracted to them in that way? Is that something that I'm ready for? So if everything goes well, you're not going to be dating for years. People who tell me that they've been dating for 2+ years, I always ask them, I'm like, well, why aren't you married yet? And there's a lot of different reasons that people give me. Sometimes it's age, financial stability. But at that point, if you've been dating for that long, I would hope you guys would have had the marriage talk and have decided, like, yes, we do want to get married, and this is our plan that we're putting in place so we can be married by like 2025 or something like that. People who just aimlessly date end up staying in those relationships for years without anything else. And eventually those relationships become marriages because they move in together, but there's no real commitment. There's just a plethora of things that happen when dating goes on for too long. So guys, with all of that being said, let me know what some green flags are below in the comments for you guys. I'll probably end up doing a couple parts to this series. But right now, those 4 are the ones that I've got. With all that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye.